Hello, everyone. Welcome to Common Conversations. We're jumping in today to some more topics. We've been hitting some topics for quite some time and just chatting about common things in relationships. These are questions that are pretty popular. A lot of them we found just simply by Googling, by people asking us questions over the years. And so we decided to sit down and chat about some of these things. So I can't think of how many videos we've done now so far. I don't know, maybe this is number 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But we've been just slowly but surely plugging away at a lot of these. And so if you're watching on YouTube, what's up? This is our couch. Welcome to our living room. If you're listening to us on iTunes, on podcast, welcome wherever you're at. You can't see us, but we can see you. Just kidding. So if you're at the gym, at work, whatever, welcome. So we're going to be talking today about how to inspire each other. So I think this is a really crucial one. For us, I think it's something that we've really learned by the School of Hard Knocks, which I think is most of our stuff. You know, if you're just tuning in, we've been together for a little over 11 years. This year we'll be married for 8 years. And so we're high school sweethearts. We've been through the thick and thin together. And, I've learned a lot of this stuff just by trial and error. Yeah. So, So what do you got for us here? Get started with, Lindsay.
I was thinking, starting with why it's important to inspire each other.
Yeah.
And why we feel like it's so important in our marriage. Mm-hmm. And I think what we're talking about inspiring is inspiring our desires.
Yeah.
Our deep desires.
Yes.
And why I think that's important is because I feel like, as an individual, you have your own personal, and you need to continue to do those things. Like, even though you're married, like, those things are so important to continue to pursue. It doesn't stop when you get married. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't stop.
Right.
I think if it stops, you're going to find yourself feeling very in a different identity almost, because there is another identity you start to take on.
Yes. But so you're saying that, like, you can't completely be selfless in order to be completely present and fully alive. Like, you need to still be kind of, and I hate to use the word, but in a way, selfish of your own desires for you to be really fully alive and present and bringing your best to the table.
Yeah.
And I know that you've been talking to me about that recently.
Yeah.
And even being able to establish your own identity with your desires and what you're inspired about and everything, and I think you're right that we feel like we just have to sacrifice ourselves for this random, we think we're sacrificing ourselves for like a common good for the relationship,
because everybody talks about
right.
You make sacrifices when you get married, you make sacrifices when you have kids. Those are true, and that's a true statement.
Yeah.
But I don't think you sacrifice everything.
Right.
Maybe for a period of time.
Yeah, and there's seasons, there's ebbs and flows. But I think staying inspired for your desires, because that's really the culprit of this talk today, is just understanding, like, how we can, and I'll tell you what, before we even get into how to inspire our spouse, how do we uncover and understand our own desires and be honest about those? I think the way you kicked us off was perfect on that, understanding your own individual desire as a husband or wife. And that's just for anything, desire for the marriage, but just personal desires,
Well, just to finish that first thought, I think, just to reiterate real quick, why I think it's important is because if you feel, full with, your desires and things like that, you're going to be able, which I guess you said, you're going to be able to love more. If you're a little selfish, you'll be able to give that love out.
Yes.
So I guess, I was saying the same thing.
No, you're saying it in a different way though, because and you're coming from a place of, like, your own personal story, if you don't mind to share a little bit, how you've been coming more to that realization for you.
Yeah.
To where you need to get selfish about your desires.
Mm-hmm.
You know, being a mom, you know, we have 2 kids, you know, 2 and 4 years old, and you're stay at home with them. And like, you tell me about you being at the end of the bottle.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, a lot of moms, in that, and then, you know, you have me as a husband, so that probably drains you too. But, you know,
No.
it's like, if you don't pursue desires of your own and you're always giving, then like, it's going to lessen your effect as a good mom
Yeah.
and a good wife.
It has. It's definitely done that for me. Especially since we've moved out here, you know, as
And
our
when
kid.
you say move out here, little over 2 years ago, we moved from Indianapolis to San Diego, California.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry. Yeah.
FYI.
That's right. The kids were starting to get to that. You know, as they grow up, they have different needs, and their needs constantly change.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no like your schedule is constantly changing with toddlers and stuff.
Right.
You know, as their naps rotate through the day, it changes you got to completely recoordinate your days. But you know, moving out here was huge because I had lost, not, I shouldn't say lost, that's a better word, but I mean, really, like, the relationships. So you know, you were started to work and you got busier, and you know, I didn't have my parents or, you know, cousins, any friendships like that. So I was finding myself like super lonely and realizing like kind of getting frustrated because I realized like, what are my desires? Like, I don't even know what they are. And I'd be really frustrated. Me and you would have long talks, and you've had hobbies and things like that growing up. And I told you, I was like, I just didn't have that.
Yeah.
And me and you'd have long conversations, and I'd get really frustrated.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out.
And the worst thing you can do is try to figure out what those things are whenever you're frustrated.
Yeah.
You know,
because I knew I just needed a break. Like,
right. And the last thing you need to be doing is racking your brain. You
Yes.
know, Alan Watts, I always come back to that, you know, muddy water is best left alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to clear itself, you know.
I needed that.
And I think that is a big, crucial understanding for the why of understanding desires and inspiring each other towards those desires. Because I felt a major need then of like, okay, well, how can I come alongside Lindsay and not just, sorry, there's a train there. We live near the coaster here in Carlsbad. So
Yeah.
if you're a train, you know, it's just people cruising right down the track. So, but I felt a desire, a new desire even, to inspire you in your desires and passions. And I think, you know, why we have to have those is crucial for our own mental stability, our health, our purpose. You know, things become monotonous and mundane, and we don't see the end goal in them, and then everything becomes kind of bleak, and then it's just a really quick downward spiral if we're not inspired into our desires, into the divine design that we are. You know, if we're not really prodded into that and encouraged into that, and sometimes pushed into that, we don't actually flourish into the beings that we're supposed to be as individuals, as, you know, spouse, as parent,
Yeah.
you know, as friend, as all of those things, you know. And so that was a new thing for me to begin to say, like, how do I inspire Lindsay into this new season?
But I think it took you seeing me kind of hitting that like rock bottom with it.
Yeah.
Because I felt so drained and so like, and occasionally I still hit that, but it's definitely gotten better as I've started to discover my desires.
Yeah.
But it has been a long time. I mean, like, it's taken me a while. It's definitely been like a journey for me because I just didn't know.
Right.
I just didn't know what I wanted, what I needed.
Yeah.
And all of that. I knew I like wanted to support you. I wanted to be a mom, and those things are fulfilling to me.
Right.
But there was something I needed on a personal level that did something for me. Something separate from, you know, separate from being a mom and being a wife.
Yeah. And for me, it was unique trying to uncover and unpack what that is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a little easier. It's like, oh, Luke's feeling a little whatever, go ride motorcycles with your friends.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I knew that was gonna
right.
do it for you.
And I was in
Go
a
clear your
band.
head.
Right. In a band for a while, like, oh, well, you're going to go to band practice or you got a
Yep.
show.
Yep.
Okay.
I knew you'd be fine. You'd be like, oh, that's gonna.
Or if
You'll
I had
come
lunch
home and
with
it'll
somebody,
be so different. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll be encouraged. Like.
if I had breakfast with somebody, that was it. Better.
Yeah.
But for Lindsay, it was like, for you, it was like, okay, well, it's not as cut and dry.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we do a lot of times as well when we're trying to uncover our desires and, understand ourselves in those, sometimes we can overlook the things that's right under our nose. I remember even me, like I am like a hobby enthusiast. Like one of my hobbies is finding hobbies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like I'll get on something.
That's like the exciting part for you.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden I'm like, I've been wanting to surf for a couple of years, but finally it came to a head and I want to do it. So boom, less than 36 hours.
Yeah.
I had the thought again. I had a surfboard, a wetsuit, and we were going to the beach.
Oh, and that's just one of many, like,
right.
throughout us being together.
Yeah. And I'm out there being all kook slam about
Yeah.
it, so. But if you don't know what kook slams is, look up on Instagram at kook slams, and you probably see me out there. But I will be a good surfer one day. But, and sorry to the locals, it is what it is. So that's the problem. I kind of look the part, but I don't play the part. I can paddle out. That's about it. So, but I think just uncovering those desires, seeing what those are, and those weren't as cut and dry for you.
No.
And just being able to know that, like, well, there is some things that are obvious to me about you, about like your health and your fitness. Like, you love that. That was right under your nose.
Well, and it was kind of funny because for me, it started with some health issues.
Yeah.
Is what sparked it. And as I started to dig in to try to discover what was up with my body, I started to realize how passionate I was about health. And when things especially started to work for me, it just kind of blew up. I was like, I love this.
Yeah.
And I find myself just spending hours just, wanting to change my health and our families. And just, it's really brought some life to me. Mm-hmm. I don't really know what that looks like, but I love it. And I don't even care what that looks like because I just, enjoy the learning part of it.
And that's what true passion and desire is.
Yeah.
And that's what inspires you about it, I think, is like, when you're passionate about something, it's not really the end result that, like, maybe sometimes,
it could be, yeah.
But like it's more so just as much or even more so the process of doing whatever it is. Even like for me, like playing drums and stuff, like sure, like I wanted to go play shows, but it was the act of playing the drums is what was so much fun to me.
Yeah.
Like riding motorcycles, like sure, it's about the destination for the good craft beer, but it's about the roads that are fun to get you there. And that's how you know that where true desire is. What gives you this sense of like, I don't know time. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything else. I forgot about, the car insurance that needed paid, this morning, which I didn't, by the way, so don't worry, Lindsay. But, it's like those things that pull you into this amazing flow state that people call it, is your desire. And then, so I think all of this is really building the case for like unpacking the why sometimes finds you, and we have to do a little unpacking and uncovering. But I think first and foremost, discovering our desire and the why of what it is, I think is really crucial before we can even begin to inspire each other in that.
Yeah, I agree. So you definitely, if it wasn't for you bringing that to my awareness and pursuing me with it, because I remember even after you started to discover, like, I was in this limbo of trying to figure it out and I was frustrated, you would not like nagging me, but you would, frequently ask me, hey, have you been thinking about that lately? Right. Is it something has there been any, any inspiration on that? And has anything came to your mind? And it helped me realize that I really need to press into this. And I really do need to focus on myself. And I just didn't realize, until you kind of like put that out there.
Yeah.
I just didn't know,
And I would continue to come back to you, know, like even like you mentioned about woodworking, like you love building things and creating things and stuff. And, I would ask you, so do you want to do a project or whatever? And it became clear to me, well, maybe at that time that wasn't something as much, and things can change and evolve or whatever. But I think once again, which if you follow any of our stuff, we are kind of like obsessed with communication, because I think it's the most important piece of a relationship. 100%.
Just gets to the root of things so much quicker.
Yeah. And so if you can understand your desires and communicate those, then that is the beginning origins for inspiring each other in those, to continue in those.
And I think too, what's cool about it is like, as I've learned about your inspirations and like, and all of that, it's in return inspired me to a certain degree too. Because I remember having conversations with some friends that related to me in the sense of, I just don't, and their moms, and they're like, I just don't feel like I have that. And my husband has all these, all these hobbies and all these things he loves to do, but like, I have nothing. I'm just a mom. And not that it's a bad thing, but sometimes you get to that place where you're like, oh, this is all I'm doing. And you just need something, just something to like break through the monotonous, repetitive day-to-day stuff. And, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm trying to remember my point.
But you do.
But
finding that inspiration and that desire gets you through the monotony.
Yes, it does. It really does. Even if it's just that one time. I don't know. It really, like, I'd be good for the week just having one day of something.
But I think it's crucial in moms to find that. Because they're always giving all the time. And they're always on call 24/7. Right now, if the kids scream, who's going to jump up first? You.
Yeah.
Because, and I, obviously I'll be right behind you, but you have that, you're always giving, and you're a mom. The definition of a mom, is what you really embody.
Yeah.
But I think having that, and so I think we had a couple other things mentioned about this that we wanted to go over as well too.
I think just another thing that's important is to, like you were with me, just being consistent too with helping me discover that desire. You didn't let me give up on it. You really pressed me on that. And I think that if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to define it. Yeah. So, and I've been able to now define it and pursue it. And there's been other things that have even came out of it.
Yeah. And so I think, now that when we talk about understanding and unpacking our desires, inspiring each other into it is a little bit of a different finesse, if you will. Because you can really easily, like after now that you are coming into that fullness of your desire, now it's like, well, even with the things that we're passionate about, we kind of get stale on them. They kind of grow old, and we kind of been like, oh, yeah, I do need to get back on that, even though I love it. And so I think inspiring each other takes a massive amount of emotional intelligence to know, how can I push this person without pushing them over the limits? Mm-hmm. How can I inspire them in a way that's going to lead them to contemplation on this and action out of it? Yeah. Because I think a lot of times, with our desires, we love to do it, but if it's approached at us in the wrong way, like moving to the portion of the video or the podcast now where we're talking about how do we actually inspire that desire, then I think we can easily be, at least for me, and this is my personality type, so I'm an Enneagram type 3, which Enneagram 3 is the achiever or the performer. Whenever, if you bring some stuff up to me, automatically I feel like I'm failing. Yeah. Or, oh, it's worthless, or I'm not adequate for that, or, and it simply gets to the place of like, absolute apathy. And so it's a weird thing, even like with you inspiring me, is like, something that you might feel is going to encourage me and move me towards it actually makes me recluse and be like, well, dang, you're right, I've not been on it. So
Yeah.
guess I'm just kind of SOL.
Yeah.
You know, and I have to guard myself for that, you know. And so I think the way in which we inspire each other, the
Yeah.
questions that we choose to ask are really crucial. I think the insight that we give needs to be very tedious, because it's an art form. Because
It is.
you're when you unpack these desires, we've gotten deep into our heart, okay? And so we bring like the well, these things, we pull these things up, and now these things that are very meaningful to us and close to us, that we've done so much work to pan the gold of who we really are, now it can easily feel like those things are being attacked, because like, oh, I did all this work to pull deep things within me out, and now you're gonna try to freaking play t-ball with them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, and to give people some context for what I mean about that, you know, maybe an example, you know, would be like for you, you know, like you about your nutrition and your health, you know, and you get on that, you know, and then let's say, you know, on, you know, a weekend, and maybe it gets into maybe Monday or Tuesday, and we're still eating burritos and ice cream, you know, and maybe you're craving, you know, Hershey bars or whatever. You know, I could say things in multiple different ways. Okay, so not only is it just like your health, but this is
Yeah.
your desire, this is your
Yeah.
passion. You like nutrition
I like
and
to live
fitness.
this way. Yeah.
But let's say, for instance, it's getting a little long of eating bad. How do I come across and say, like, you know, I could say either A, Lindsay, get a freaking grip, dude. You're shoving all that sugar crap down your throat, and you need to seriously stop it. That's not, I thought you were passionate about this. I thought this is who you are. Well, man, you'd think maybe I'm not as passionate about it as I thought. Maybe I'm not really, you know, into this. Maybe it's just another phase I'm going through, or, you know, and all of a sudden it's like, oh man, now you're having like an existential crisis for your passion, you know. Or I could be like, hey, all this candy's been great, all this ice cream's, you know, been great, but tell me about that thing that you were, you know, tell me about the other day that you learned about XYZ, because you're always sending me stuff on Twitter or whatever, you know what I mean? Tell me about that, you know. And that's the art form of it, you know, because it's not just like me attacking you of, hey, don't you remember this is your thing? It's like, you know, or with me, it's like, hey, Luke, you know, I noticed that you've not been on a motorcycle ride with your friends lately. You know, have you talked to Justin lately? Have you guys used to go ride all the time, at least twice a month, you know? Instead of being like, dude, why are you not doing this? You know, it's like there's just a finesse of inspiring people towards action in their passion, and attacking them and demeaning the thing that is so close to them.
But I think it's understanding if it's something they even want to pursue. Because there was a point in time when you were encouraging me when I was trying to figure all this out. You were trying to encourage me to learn guitar, and I started playing. And but every time you would bring it up for me, I felt like it was a task, and it felt like such a drag. I didn't want to, and it kind of irritated me every time you said something, because I was like, I feel like you're being my parent right now, and I need to go practice.
And
And it really bothered me, and I was like, I'm kind of done with this. It doesn't feel like what I wanted it to, and maybe it's just not the right time, you know. And you kept telling me, well, you're really good, and I see it in you, and I felt like, maybe, well, you're right, you know, that's true. But I don't know, every time you would remind me I need to practice, it started to feel so like, I guess more annoying and like a chore. And I was like, well, this isn't what desire. I mean, there's times for discipline when you're with your desires, if you're wanting to, you know, take it a step further, but I just wasn't. That experience stood out to me when you're sharing this. I was just thinking about that.
Yes, thank you for a real life experience than me. I'm trying to like make up hypothetical scenarios, and I can see it in your eyes. You're like, boring.
No.
But like, I think you're exactly right on that. But that comes to communicating. Like, Luke, listen, I know I might be a natural at guitar, and you are, but that's not my desire, at least right now.
Yeah.
And then I know where to inspire you and where not to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think finding that groove
And that's communicating.
yes, of communicating.
That's another,
I know that's obvious. That's the center of everything we do is communication. But people are like, gosh, I talk about communication. Well, how good are you communicating with your spouse or significant other? So just saying, we could always improve on that.
Yeah.
So I think that inspiring each other into desires is truly an art form.
Mm-hmm.
And it's truly being able to voice your desires, listen to the other people's desires, and not project your desires onto them, and because I want you to play guitar really bad.
I know you do.
Because you're really good. But I have to not project that onto you and respect the uniqueness of who you are and what really stokes your fire.
Yeah.
And just help guide that with you, So.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I don't know if you got anything else about that.
I think everything, all of that's huge.
Yeah.
I think it's all important.
Yeah.
I think it's good to figure out what your desires are, because we all have them.
Yeah, figure out your desires and then communicate those so your spouse knows them too.
Yeah, they need to know.
They need to know exactly what you're doing, why, and you don't have to know all of that. You can talk about that together. That's actually going to make you closer together.
Yeah, and it's going to keep your relationship interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you can learn a lot about someone when they have something that they're so passionate about.
Yep.
I love hearing your passions about things, and I know you'll listen to me too.
Yeah, and I do, and we begin to see where we fit in each other's equation.
Yeah, it's cool, and you start to see that we all have our uniqueness. I don't know, it keeps it interesting.
Yeah, keeps your marriage alive, and man, I'm telling you, because people can easily get in the groove of go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch Netflix, put the kids to bed, go to bed, and it's just we have to find those things that give us life.
Yes. In order to keep giving back to the ones around you that you love too. Yep. You have to.
Yep. And watching Netflix is not a desire. Sorry, people.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you're a TV critic or whatever, but that's not something, If you're watching Netflix for more than 2 hours a day, you
need to dig a little deeper. You need to really get to know yourself, because there's something in there that you're missing. Yeah. And that's going to bring you a lot more happiness and excitement to life.
Yeah. And if you're offended by it, then that just means that there is truly something down there that needs to be sorted out. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, sorry, not sorry. But that's just how it goes. So, find those things. Be curious about your spouse and that. Inspire each other towards it, because it's fun and you get to do it together.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about,
Yeah.
So, thank you guys for joining us on Common Conversations. It's a lot of fun doing this, and for those of you watching on YouTube, I know this is a little different set, so maybe you could give us a comment, let us know what you think about us chilling on our couch doing this, and we look forward to doing more of these. So if you have a question as well, comment below. We'd love to talk about that. Also follow us on Instagram at Common Conversations, or if you want to shoot us an email at commonconversations@yahoo.com. Or check out our website. We got a website actually too. Yeah. I forget about it. commonconvos.com. So, yeah, subscribe on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on podcast land, subscribe on iTunes. And if you could leave us a review, it'd be massively helpful. Yes. We'd greatly appreciate it. So,
yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Indeed.
How'd you feel about it? These.